Well, I got back from Jurassic World Rebirth, and it was eh, eh. I would call this movie the Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness of the Jurassic Park franchise. It has solid direction, great set design, impeccable VFX, almost really good acting that is bogged down by quite possibly one of the worst scripts that could have been written for a movie like this. It's really unfortunate because I really wanted to like this movie. You know, it seems like they were actually going in a different direction. They decided to shoot on film. They decided to strip away a lot of the nostalgia bait. And on top of that, they brought in Gareth Edwards as the director, as well as the original writer or co-writer of the first Jurassic Park movie and its sequel. It seemed like they were on the right track for this, but honestly, a lot of the film's problems can be found from a script perspective. This is poorly written and poorly structured and poorly paced. This movie felt like it's 2.5 hours long, and I think it may be just shy of 2 hours or even under 2 hours. And there's a lot of issues. Like I said, there's a lot of issues with it. For example, the D-Rex, that big monster that they used for a lot of the marketing, is in it for a grand total of 5 minutes. Sure, those 5 minutes are amazing by every measure of the definition, but they don't utilize it very well. And on top of that, as I said, this movie is poorly structured because essentially there are two movies within this movie. It is a heist movie with dinosaurs, which on paper is phenomenal, but they don't fully commit to that idea. On the other hand, they have a horror film where a family is on a trip together, but they're stranded on an island with dinosaurs and must struggle to find a way to escape. But they don't commit to that idea. They also had like a sort of similar idea that they did in the first Jurassic World, which was a mutant hybrid that is let loose and causes havoc. But instead of it being like an action movie, they actually fully commit to that horror film idea. But they only do it for about 5 minutes and they don't even fully commit. And that's the thing. This movie's a bunch of half-baked. Well, I don't even want to say half-baked because some of these ideas are really good, but they just don't commit to it. And that's a shame because every single action sequence with dinosaurs is really good. And Gareth Edwards' direction, when he's allowed to actually be Gareth Edwards for the small time that he's actually here, is really good. The Mosasaurus scene with the Spinosauruses, phenomenal. The D-Rex scene, phenomenal. The weird Velociraptor pterodactyl hybrid scenes, awesome. You know, even the river raft scene with the T-Rex, which is in the marketing and heavily in the trailer, it is amazing. I literally felt myself gripping my seat. That was phenomenal. Jonathan Bailey as the lead scientist guy is awesome. Scarlett Johansson as tough military girl, awesome. Like I said, it's written so poorly you don't even remember who these characters are. You remember the actors, but you don't really remember the characters. Mahershala Ali as awesome sea captain who waves a flare, awesome. That's the thing. Every actor in this movie actually delivers some of the best performances in this franchise. And yeah, there are a lot less ridiculous, stupid moments in this film when compared to the previous trilogy. But I think that actually works against this movie. There's not a lot of nostalgia bait. You know, there's musical cues, but they don't even mention the name Jurassic World or Jurassic Park in the entirety of this movie. There's no, like, they mention Alan Grant once, but they don't mention any of the previous. Right. This movie commits the biggest franchise sin that you can pull, which is undoing your previous trilogy or undoing your previous installments. So at the end of Jurassic World Dominion, we find out that now dinosaurs roam the world and now they're able to, work alongside humans and live alongside our modern day nature. Except, no, turns out in the span of 3 years, they almost all died except for around the equator because that one Redditor who posted years ago saying Jurassic Park could never work because, the environment and habitat that dinosaurs lived in isn't the same as what it once was. You know, they would literally die due to exposure because they just simply can't live in this environment anymore. And yeah, it's funny. This entire franchise has played fast and loose with the rules of science. And the one time they finally commit to it is to undo literally all the hard work and all the setup and all the payoff in the previous trilogy. It's like, it really does. This movie, in a sense, does feel like a response to a lot of the complaints in the previous trilogy. You know, bunch of characters doing stupid things, nostalgia baiting, and no cohesiveness. Well, guess what? They throw all that out the window and decide to actually fully commit to this idea. So essentially now this feels more like a sequel to Jurassic Park 3 than it actually does to Jurassic World, which makes no sense because guess what? They still mention aspects. Here's the thing. They don't mention plot points. They mention aspects of the previous trilogy. And it really does. It tries to stand so much on its own. However, it doesn't, like the D-Rex, it doesn't really know what it is. It commits too much to half-baked ideas. It basically half-asses a lot of ideas rather than fully commit to one. I feel like this film was definitely streamlined when it definitely needed maybe a year or two more to actually cook, which is ironic because one of the themes and plot points of this is that they're on an island with, a bunch of randomly baked dinosaurs, which they're not. There's a lot of plot contrivances, oh, wait, where's the next dinosaur? Oh, it's up there. We just have to climb up there. We'll get there probably at the end of the day, which, no, they fucking wouldn't. And there's not, this movie, pardon the pun, this movie needed more bite. There's a sequence where you think, because there's two kids in this movie. You think one of them dies, and for a moment, you're shocked. You're really shocked, but no, she's fine. And there's a scene where one of the other characters sacrifices themselves, and you actually think, wow, this is one of the most gut-wrenching and emotional moments of the whole movie. I felt myself getting teared up because it's done so well. No, they're fine. This movie's played far too safe. It is not bad enough to be laughable, to go back to the theater and laugh at it because of how bad it is, but it's not competent enough to where you want to see it again. It's a damn shame, This movie isn't terrible, but it's not good. It's like a 5 or a 6 out of 10, It's filled with truly phenomenal performances, great visual effects. Seriously, the dinosaurs here look so good. And under Gareth Edwards' direction, they actually have weight to them. They feel real. They feel scary. And that is something that I cannot praise enough. Literally, if they're going to make a sequel to this, which I don't think they should, this movie just does prove that the Jurassic franchise doesn't really have anywhere left to go. They had two really good ideas that they could have easily done as standalones, and instead they squandered it. In fact, let me take this time to actually show what they could have done. They could have easily done a lower budget horror movie where a family reunion on a boat goes awry and they get stranded on an island. And turns out this is one of the islands that the testing for, the genetically engineered dinosaurs took place. But this is where all the rejects laid. And since they didn't want to waste all the money, throwing the rejects away, guess what? They instead kept them there for surveillance. But due to, the Jurassic brand falling due to so many mishaps, the company went into disrepair and all the dinosaurs were let loose. So now this family has to find a boat and escape while they're getting hunted by mutated freaks of nature. And, little by little, you're introduced to certain elements of InGen from a darker side, a much more sinister side. That could have been a really good movie. You could have had your standard heist movie as well. But I feel like this probably was the one and only chance that the Jurassic franchise had to do something really new and use that rebirth, which clearly was a moniker for them going, okay, we understand how the previous trilogy went. We hear you. We want to do something better now. This was the one chance they had to really show that they cared. And I think it kind of fell flat. So if they decide to do a sequel, I say let Gareth Edwards actually make a movie that he would really want to do. Let him go full Edwards. Because if there was a director who really has an idea of what it means to make a monster movie, it's Gareth Edwards. He could have easily made a phenomenal movie if he had a writer that was allowed enough time to actually really cook this script. And instead of cooking, he got cooked, as the vernacular goes nowadays. So yeah, those are my thoughts and my review on Jurassic World Rebirth. It is unfortunately much better than the previous trilogy, but not nearly good enough to actually warrant being made. Just as with How to Train Your Dragon, the live-action remake, the question was, did this movie need to exist? No, but it does, so does it justify its existence? And the answer to that question was yes. Unfortunately for here, Jurassic World Rebirth was a film that didn't need to be made, but it is made. So does it justify its existence? No. It's not nearly bad enough to warrant going to a movie, to go to see it again so you can point and laugh, but it's not nearly good enough to want to go back and see it. There's this graph that's usually made where you have two opposites and then one full end. Right? Unfortunately, it's right there. It's good. It's decent, but it's not decent enough to actually warrant being seen again or, laugh at it. It's just there. A decent popcorn flick that, you can shut your brain off for a couple hours and be like, oh, pretty dinosaurs, but that's really about all this movie is. And for a film whose legacy is the first Jurassic Park and a bunch of shitty sequels, the fact that the third best Jurassic Park movie is forgettable is a little disappointing. And that's really what this film is. Disappointing.